Hi girlies, welcome back to my channel. Today is a little bit of a different video because it is going to just be a little chat between us girls because there is definitely some tea to spill. And the tea that we're going to be spilling is once again all about my Graff engagement ring. So I've got all cozied up. I'm using my special Tokyo mug that I got in Tokyo when I went this past summer. And then of course I'm wearing this gorgeous robe. This gorgeous robe is from Ulivary. They are today's part sponsor and I absolutely love this brand. The company was founded by two Asian women, Rachel and Sharon, and they wanted to make affordable and ethical loungewear that paid homage to their cultural heritage. They were kind enough to send me a couple of robes and a pajama set, and I am not kidding when I say this is the softest loungewear I've ever worn. Now, I already own silk pajamas and I like to sleep with silk pillowcases because generally I do feel like it's really good for your skin, but honestly, this is softer than anything that I own. And not only that, it's absolutely gorgeous. I've worn this in a couple TikToks already and I've received so many compliments, and especially this pink shade, I think it compliments me so well. And not only is it so soft to the touch, it is absolutely stunning in the print and the fit and the style. I think these robes feel particularly special to me right now because I am slowly starting to think about a wedding and I would love to incorporate a traditional Korean aspect into it, and that would include wearing hanboks and the traditional Korean garments. And of course it's not a hanbok, but it feels very reminiscent of it, and I can honestly say I feel so beautiful in it. All the links will be down in the description below, and if you use my code SOMI30 you can get 30% off at checkout. I really hope you'll check them out. I honestly have been wearing them non-stop. Now girlies, back to the tea. So in my last Graff video was basically just an explanation of my ring, the specs and everything, but at the very end of the video I had left off saying that there was a slight hiccup in my whole kind of ring buying process, in which after buying the ring I noticed that the center diamond was crooked and it had to go in for a 2-month repair, and it already caused a lot of stress on kind of the timeline of our engagement. Now the engagement in Korea goes off without a hitch. It's beautiful, it's lovely, it's everything that I dreamed of, but very soon after we returned back to the US, I noticed a glaring problem with my ring again. And to paint the picture for you guys, I'm in a work call, I'm working from home, and I'm not wearing my ring at the moment because I take it off when I go to sleep, but then I was like, okay, you know what? I'm just gonna go look at the ring, and I'm in this boring work call, so I'm just gonna go and stare at it because it's so beautiful. So I take it out of my jewelry box, I bring it over, I'm looking at it, and I'm kind of like just like twisting it in my fingers, and as I'm twisting it, I noticed that multiple diamonds in the pave band are spinning. And the only reason that they would be spinning to that degree, and I'll insert a video here, is that they are extremely loose in the pave band, and honestly I'm not surprised that none of them popped out. Now obviously I am honestly so shocked because, to be honest, I didn't even wear my ring for that long. First of all, I was very newly engaged. I'd only had the ring in my personal possession for a couple of weeks. And secondly, I don't wear my ring to work because I have a very hands-on job and I feel like it's a little too flashy and it would get in the way and it might get damaged. So I do not wear my ring to work. So all in all, the amount of time that my ring was on my finger was very little. So to then notice that diamonds in the pave band are spinning out of control is like such a shock to me. I honestly couldn't understand how it happened because I wasn't wearing like a wedding band for the diamonds to get knocked loose or anything. It honestly had come into contact with zero things. And so I immediately contact my SA. I send her the video of the spinning diamonds and I'm like, we definitely need to do something about this. And so she says, come in, let's check it out. And so I make an appointment with her the very next day. I take the ring in and then she looks at it, and I mean, she could spin the diamonds herself, so it's very clear that something's wrong. And I was still kind of in shock over the whole situation, I think. So basically what she was saying to me was that, you know, it's great that you check that your diamonds are fine. You should constantly check your pave diamonds because it's just good practice and it's a good habit so that none of the diamonds fall out, blah, 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 blah. And thinking back on the situation now and the way that she was talking to me about it, it really made it seem like she didn't think it was particularly a large issue. I, during the appointment, stressed a lot that I could not believe that this was happening because the ring had already gone in for repair, and for it to go into a repair again as soon as I'm engaged just didn't make sense to me. But again, I don't know if she completely understood the severity from my aspect of it, but essentially what she was saying was that she noticed that the diamonds were actually peeking out past the metal band. So a lot of the diamond sides were actually exposed, and she said that any kind of impact or any kind of subtle brushing against those diamonds could have easily knocked it out of place. And I was like, what the heck? Why would you make the ring like that in the first place to be so unstable that any kind of soft contact with the ring would have caused the diamonds to come loose. But regardless, she said that she would take it in for repair, and then she gave out my little receipt that she had taken in the ring for repair. And on the receipt, it lists like a little place where you can put the date that the ring will be back by. And in that little space, she said, as long as it takes. And from her perspective, she just meant that she wanted the artisans or the jewelry makers or whatever to take their time in diagnosing the problem and fixing the problem. And it wasn't like oh, we don't care about how long it takes, you'll get the ring back whenever. But I think her writing it in that way also doesn't press any urgency to the problem. And the urgency is that I'm a newly engaged woman without a ring to show for it. So then she takes the ring in and we leave. I go back home and then I just sit at home and kind of really think about it. And I was like, is this correct? Because Graff is a highly prestigious brand. We specifically chose Graff because we thought that the quality would far exceed any other brand that we could have possibly shopped at. And currently, with the current situation, we were not getting any of that quality that we were promised. So I ended up making a TikTok about it that got a little bit of traction, and a lot of girls were actually very helpful. They said a lot of great things, and a lot of them actually pointed out what they thought the issue might have been with my ring. And they actually thought that the initial resizing of my ring got kind of botched, where the gold maybe got like thinned out too much, and that's why the diamonds were peeking out on their outer edges. And that honestly makes a lot of sense to me, because when I first purchased the ring, it was quite large for my finger, so I had to go in for a downsizing. And I didn't know this at the time, but it was pointed out to me by several girls on TikTok that jewelers will typically say no if the downsize is too many sizes down, if that makes sense. So if it's like a size or a size and a half, the jeweler can cut out a little bit of section, resize the ring, and then weld it back together. But if the downsizing is too many sizes, like let's say you have to go down 2 sizes or 3 sizes, then the integrity of the ring would be compromised too much by that resizing. So what the jeweler should do is that they should just salvage the diamonds and then recast the ring. But definitely what happened for me was a resizing. They did not recast the ring. I personally don't know what the original size in the ring was, but I could definitely see how that's where this kind of problem started to arise. And the second thing that the TikTok girlies were saying was that I should stand up for myself. A lot of girls were like, I would have never accepted this. Like, this is unacceptable. How could they not take this as a serious problem? You should say something. And so, you know, I personally am not a confrontational person. And if I never made that TikTok, I genuinely would never have said anything. But after getting a lot of support from the girls on TikTok, I was like, okay, let me just politely reach out to my SA saying that it's a little bit more of a serious issue than I thought, because I honestly thought that the integrity of my ring was damaged to begin with. So even if they did the repair for my ring on these spinning pave diamonds, I was afraid that like maybe 2 weeks after I got the ring, it would just have to be sent into another repair because something was fundamentally wrong about the structure of the ring. And so I politely texted my SA. I said, hey, I have serious concerns about the integrity of my ring. I would love to talk to a manager to see what kind of solutions we can come up together. And I actually got ghosted for like 4 days, maybe. I don't know. She didn't respond. And typically she responds so quickly. Even if it's like at 11 p.m. at night, she responds like almost instantly. So I thought it was really strange, but I thought maybe she was on PTO or something. And so I texted her again after 4 or 5 days and I said, hey, I'm so sorry to bother you if you're on PTO, but I was wondering if you saw my message and if I could speak to a manager. And to this one, she replies not to what I was saying. She just essentially says, I haven't heard anything about your ring. I'll let you know when I do. But I had asked to speak to the manager. I had not asked for any updates on my ring. So I texted again and I said, actually, I want to speak to the manager. That had really nothing to do with what I was saying. And then finally she says, okay, yes, my manager's not in right now, but when she gets in, I'll tell her and then we'll text you back. I said, great, okay. And then I wait another couple days and I hear no response. And so I'm like, okay, it seems like for some reason, my concerns are just not being taken seriously. And I honestly had no idea why, because my SA is so kind and so sweet. And so I was planning to write an email to Graff Corporate because I've had previous luxury situations where I've had to kind of bypass my SA and go straight to corporate to obtain a resolution there. Like, for example, I bought a Dior Cara one time. The strap was defective. My SA was like, I can't give you a free new strap. This strap is fine. And then I reached out to corporate. And then corporate gave me a new strap. And then another example would be like Hermes, right? When we had that defective Hermes watch, the manager at Hermes was like, sorry, we can only take it for repair. I emailed corporate and then they immediately replaced my watch for me. So I was like, okay, I know the easy way to get a solution and to be polite about it, right? So I drafted this kind of long worded email, and personally for me, I wrote it in a very detailed way because I just didn't want there to be any back and forth. But I had a couple of my friends proofread it and they were like, this is like too much. If you send like 5 paragraphs of your sad story about your defective ring, no one's gonna want to read it. And I would like to think that somebody would read it on the other end, but I understand where they were coming from. And one of my friends also pointed out that perhaps we live in a society where men are taken more seriously, or maybe it's also like the way that I conduct myself or compose myself or write emails. Like, it could just be better if Matthew had written the email because, I mean, A, he paid for the ring. B, he's a lot more aggressive than I am in dealing with conflict. And so ultimately, I had him read my email, and then he rewrote it in a very structured way. And it was a great email, if I have to say. It was like super structured. It basically listed out bullet points of action items that he wanted Graff to take. And then we said our proposed solution. And then he also said, like, I don't understand why you're not listening to my fiance. She's being so polite. I thought it was so sweet. And then that's kind of how like the email was written. And the solution that we wanted was actually super simple. We weren't asking for anything crazy. We just wanted our ring to be recast into my correct size again with like new gold and everything to make sure that the ring was properly done this time. And so finally, when I don't hear anything back from my Graff essay again, I just politely text her again. I say, hey, thank you so much for helping us select the ring. We really appreciated our time together, but at this moment, we just don't feel like our concerns are being heard. And so we're actually going to email corporate about this and then try to find a resolution there. And immediately after sending that text, she says, my manager's right next to me. Please let me know a time that we can call. She can call you immediately. And I was like, how convenient that as soon as I threatened to go to corporate, you know, your manager is right there. And again, no, like, I don't want to bash my essay at all because I think there was just some genuine misunderstanding. Like, I don't know where the misunderstanding occurred, but I do think that there was some genuine misunderstanding. So I'm not mad at her or anything like that, but I didn't really want to talk to the manager, and I was like just so done with the situation. I wanted Matthew to deal with it at this point because I was just kind of stressing about it and I didn't want to stress about it anymore. So then I texted her back. I said, hey, please just give me the manager's direct email. And from here on out, Matthew will be the only person in correspondence with you guys. And that's just how we ended it. She gave me the email. Matthew sent off the email to the Graff boutique director. And then he just CC'd me so I could like kind of keep in with correspondence. And as soon as we contacted the manager, everything was kind of smooth sailing from there. She was so incredibly kind and cordial. And she definitely wasn't aware of this problem beforehand. So I think like that's where the issue lied, that she just like was genuinely unaware of the situation. But as soon as she became aware of the situation, she immediately tried to find a resolution for us. So when she got Matthew's email, she emailed back quickly. She said, I've received your email. Give me 1 day to really think about these action items so I can give you a detailed list of how we're going to solve each item. And I was like, oh my God, great start, right? So then we wait a day, she comes back, she gives us this really long, really detailed email of exactly what's going to happen. Of course, they're going to remake my ring from scratch, like no issue there. And then she also called Matthew in person to apologize, to re-explain everything. And then it kind of ended a little bit with them gifting us a bottle of wine and a $200 gift certificate so we could go out to like a nice dinner. And from then on, it was just waiting. And again, none of those small little tidbits or apologies really makes up for this hassle of having to get your ring repaired or made 2 times over. And it's just really sad because an engagement should be a really special time for any girl. And obviously once you get engaged and you come back, especially if it's abroad, right? You come back and everyone says, congratulations, I would love to see your ring. Where's your ring? And I don't have my ring. So I have to give them at least like a TLDR of what's happened to it. Like, you know, all the mishaps that have happened with my ring. And then it doesn't really become about like, congratulations on your engagement, congratulations on this big special day. Every following conversation is just like, are there any updates in your ring? What's happening with your ring? Any more drama with your ring? And so I feel like this whole situation really overshadowed what should be like the specialist time in my life. And that's what's most upsetting about it. And then finally, after almost exactly 2 months of having the ring in repair, the Graff boutique director calls us and lets us know that the ring is ready to be picked up. And so Matthew and I make an appointment and we go in the next day. And this is the ring that we picked up. It is perfect, I think, hopefully, but we get in and it was such a pleasant experience. I'm very grateful to them that they're at least trying to kind of rectify the situation. But as soon as we go into the boutique, we're kind of ushered a little bit to the back and they have cakes and champagne waiting for us. So that was super sweet. And they had a lot of gifts waiting for us as well. But essentially we go, we have a little bit of time to chit chat and eat the cakes. And then my ring is brought out and the Graff boutique director is sitting there with my essay. And she's going over all the little details that they did to make sure that this ring was perfect this time around. And of course, I don't know every single detail that happen to make my ring what it is today, but she was saying that they had upped the level of checks that they were doing. They were doing a lot of quality checks, like over and over and over again. They put in a lot more gold also to reinforce the ring in general, and it does feel like substantially heavier than my previous ring. And the only thing that was salvaged for this ring was most likely just my center diamond. Of course, that one is kept. And so if you guys recall, there were two major reasons why my ring went in for two different repairs before this ring came into its final state. The first time it was because my center diamond was crooked. So in order to make sure that it was perfect, when it got to New York, they were doing like a lot of different leveling tests or something. They were measuring like every single corner to the halo setting, make sure those measurements checked out. So I really appreciated that. And definitely to my naked eye, it looks absolutely level. And then the second thing, which is like the biggest problem in my opinion, was the spinning pave diamonds. To rectify this issue, they had added more gold to reinforce the sides. So now the edges are perfectly straight, which again, they should have been like that to begin with, and I don't want to like justify any of their mistakes or any of these quality issues, but I am just trying to be understanding in what they were trying to do to rectify the situation. I'll include some side-by-side comparisons, but definitely in one picture where it's before the remake, you can see that there are definitely like lumps and bumps of the diamonds. It's so clear that the edges of the diamonds are exposed, whereas my brand new ring, it is like a perfectly straight line. They're all encapsulated in gold. They're much more protected than the previous version. The only noticeable difference between my previous version of the ring and this version of the ring is that they actually did take out diamonds on the bottom of the band, I believe. The boutique director is going to get back to me about the actual accurate total carat weight of the fine white diamonds used in this band. But if you recall, in my previous version of the ring, there was only a slight sliver of white gold peeking out here when I resized it down to a size 4. And I thought it was great because it was almost like a full eternity ring. And if you recall, I was told that if I resized it smaller than a size 4, they would actually take diamonds out. And that's why I resized it to a size 4, when in actuality, my ring size is actually smaller than a size 4. So when my new ring came back and I saw that there was a lot more white gold at the bottom of the band, which to me indicates that they had actually taken out some diamonds. The boutique director was saying that that could have just been done for stability purposes, which I can kind of understand. But at the same time, I was actually disappointed because if I knew that they were going to take out diamonds, I would have actually requested them to make a smaller sized ring, because the whole point of me sticking with a size 4 and not going down to like a 3.75 or a 3.5 was because I thought that I wanted to preserve the diamonds, but if they were going to take them out anyways, I would have just resized it down to make it more comfortable. So that was a little bit annoying, but I just used this like little coil here and it's actually really comfortable on my finger and it keeps my ring completely in place. So honestly, I don't really mind. I'm sure that I will only gain weight from here. But that is generally how this whole Graff fiasco saga ends. At the end of the appointment, I tried on a couple new necklaces that I might be interested in. And here's also the kicker where I'm kind of like conflicted about. A lot of girls on my TikToks, and you know, I don't want to pay too much attention to what the comments are saying, but a lot of them seem to give the impression that I should boycott Graff. Like, oh, Graff is horrible. How could Graff do this to you? But honestly, I do feel like my experience was like so one-off and that it would not happen again. And again, I do love a lot of Graff pieces. Like I love the butterfly collection. I think it's so gorgeous and I would love to add more pieces from their collection. But at the same time, I do feel a little bit hesitant. Like, I really don't think that would happen again, but in the back of my mind, like, I'm always like, who knows? So I would love to hear down in the comments what you guys would do in the situation. If this happened to you, do you think you would boycott Graff and you'd never buy anything from them again? Or do you think that if you genuinely love the style and you love the pieces, you would go ahead and purchase with the same essay? But regardless, at the end of the appointment, they did send us home with some really thoughtful gifts. They first sent us home with a lovely bouquet of flowers, which I'll post the picture here. They were so pretty and they lasted for a really long time. They were like super fresh for a week. I don't know what they put in the water, but I really want to figure it out. They also sent us home with some more sweets that were from the same bakery as the cakes that they had prepared for us. And then lastly, they were kind enough to send us home with one extra gift, which I'll unbox for you guys here. It came in this gorgeous green box, which I think complements my robe so well. And I do think this was for the Mid-Autumn Festival actually. So my essay did save one of the sets for me because she did want to say an extra little sorry, which I really appreciated. And inside is actually perfect and on topic for what we're doing because it is a tea set. So perhaps they wanted me to stop spilling the tea and just drink it with this gorgeous new tea set they gifted me. But I'm being completely honest when I say this is so gorgeous. So it comes with a box to hold the actual tea leaves, and then it comes with a steeper for the tea leaves, and it comes with two gorgeous little teacups. They're this gorgeous shade of jade green, absolutely stunning. And I don't drink loose leaf tea all too often, but I think having this set will be a good excuse to try. Now, I know some some girls might be thinking like, oh wow, they gave you one tea set and you think that everything's okay now, everything is fine, all the things that they made you go through are like totally forgotten. And personally for me, not because of the tea set, but genuinely just because I'm not a person who holds grudges. Like everything to me is basically water under the bridge. As long as somebody recognizes their mistake and makes an active effort to rectify it, like that is enough for me. And obviously while it wasn't ideal to have to go through all of this, in the end I did receive a really high quality ring. I'm really happy with what I ended up with, and I'm happy that Graff acknowledged their mistake and made their utmost efforts to rectify it. I have been wearing my ring a lot more frequently these days and there's been absolutely no issues, but just in case there are, I am supposed to go in once a month for the next 6 months to meet with the boutique director as well as my SA for them to personally inspect the ring and make sure that everything is fine. And then they said that once you clear the 6-month mark, usually you're like good to go and your ring should be cleared for normal wear and tear. Okay, well that brings us to wrap on all the Graff drama. I hope I never have to spill tea ever again because honestly this was like a whole headache of a situation. But if you have any questions or comments, please just leave them down below. And once again, don't forget to check out Ulivary. You can use my code SOMI30 for 30% off your purchase. As always, thank you guys so much for watching. I'll definitely see you in the next one. Bye guys!